What's up, boys and girls? This is the Chris and Mike Squared Show, because this is Mike and that's Mike. There's two Mikes here today, which is kind of cool. We're going to have all kinds of cool conversations, and we hope you enjoy what we share. I'm going to turn the music off now. Mike's got about an hour. So Mike is he's married to someone I grew up with. So since when I knew that we moved into Tempe in '76, so I've known the Rodardi family since 1976. Did you know that?
Wow.
Yeah, they told me that you were kind of like almost a son to them.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time with them growing up. So,
yeah. Cool people. So that's how we ended up knowing each other. I actually went to his wedding, which was fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, and they pulled a prank. They had some other chick come out the corner to go down the aisle, and apparently people that knew the family, the looks on our faces were just...
Yeah, so our wedding was on April 1st, so that was Tony, my brother-in-law's idea of a little April Fool's joke there. So.
Yeah. And they gave me shit a lot, because apparently the look on my face was like, what the fuck? This isn't Chris. So it was fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Coming up on our 2-year anniversary here in just over 3 weeks. So
yeah, right on.
Congratulations.
And that's kind of ballsy, getting married on April Fool's Day.
Wasn't my idea.
Really?
I
think she had really originally picked the 8th, but it didn't work out. So then it was the 1st. So, but yeah, I like it though.
Right on.
Yeah.
My son's born the 8th.
I've been a fool in love all my life. So
there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
I think we all have that in common. We're hopeless romantics.
Yeah.
At some level, you have to be, right? Because it keeps things fun and different. See the flowers? Nikki got me flowers for my birthday.
That's awesome.
You know, so
it goes both ways, right?
It does go both ways, man. Got to have the yin and the yang, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So
Still
the reason we have
my yang.
Right. So the reason we have Mike on, not you, Mike, but this Mike. Fascinating life. Like right now, I follow him on Instagram. He's into boxing. You're gonna go into the ring, right?
Oh, that's the plan. So
Okay.
I discovered boxing kind of late in life, but it was one of those things where I started doing it, and it just felt like a natural fit. You know, ever you do something, you feel like like
stay
I'm
right up on that mic.
this. Yeah. So okay.
Yeah, I can move it to you. There you go. Whoops.
Okay.
Okay. There you go.
Almost having a relationship with this mic here, having relations, but
It's
but
okay,
yeah,
it's
so
clean.
I'm kind of obsessed with boxing right now. It's a great workout, which I really like too. Like the fitness level you have to get to get in the ring and go a few rounds is something like I've probably never been at that level before as far as overall fitness. You know?
Right, because it's a huge amount of cardio, right?
Yeah, so the endurance, which I've done endurance running. I've run marathons. Years ago, I ran quite a few marathons.
Cool.
But, so the endurance part, I'm pretty confident I can get to. It's like at this age, like the agility and the speed is more of a challenge.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And how old are you? We're close in age.
I think we might be the same age. I just turned 55 last month. So.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah,
Wow.
like a week ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he puts me to shame as far as in shape and conditioning.
I wouldn't say.
Dude, I've seen your shit on Facebook, on Instagram. What he can do with his core fan. I can hold a 9.5 minute plank. But some of the shit you do, I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
You know.
Yeah.
I can see from here you're in phenomenal shape.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I've been working at it for several years now, but like fitness is something that was always appealing to me. Even in the depths of my addiction, I'd be like walking for miles, and stuff like that. So it wasn't like there was probably never a time where, well, there was sometimes, but almost never a time where I was totally inactive for long periods. So I think that helped me get through those times as well. But yeah, so it's always been an interest for me. So. And at this point in life, you're like, you gotta use it or lose it.
Yep.
And if you don't stay active, then you're gonna lose the strength, the conditioning, the muscles, all that stuff. So
Agreed.
Right. Yeah. So
I got to do a live shot of the show.
Okay.
There you go. So you brought up addiction. Mike and I are both recovering addicts. Well, this Mike. The mic over there, and then now you, Mike.
Yeah.
I've been sober for a little over 20 years. February 9th was my 20th sober birthday.
Okay.
I think the mics have more. I don't want to say, I don't know how to say it. I think your guys' story is more really going down into the depths of addiction than I was, because luckily, knock on wood, I was just addicted to booze. Mm-hmm. So it didn't destroy my life to the extent that it does other people, because I was a functional alcoholic. I wasn't when the relationship with Nikki, I wasn't there mentally. I was detached from that emotionally completely. Yeah. When I had my wake up call, I didn't realize that she was literally 6 months away from just fuck off, I'm gone, because that's how far I went down that path of just being an asshole. So luckily that happened, and here I still sit 30 years later. You want to give him a little insight of your world, Mike, so then he can kind of find his comfort level of what he wants to share, because he hasn't ever really shared this stuff with anybody, so we're kind of being graced with his willingness to kind of open up a little bit to us, because our entire thing is kind of centered around addiction being real, raw, and relevant, and helping other people kind of get through their chaos by listening to us, watch us. We're in 19 countries now.
Yeah.
It's kind of insane how we're
different countries.
Yeah.
Every week.
Every week we're adding something.
In like a
for
year and a
yeah,
half.
for the show. Yeah,
it's
pretty.
Reach, yeah,
it's pretty
awesome.
cool, and it's organically growing. We're not doing anything really from a cost standpoint to promote it. It's just really us doing this, and then.
So you see someone in Europe or somewhere
Yeah,
else listening to the show? Yeah, that's awesome.
Michael texts me, "Hey, dude, we're in Canada, eh?"
Yeah.
Yeah, just the fact that somebody found it and took the time to listen to it on their own. Like Chris said, we're not spending hundreds of dollars every week advertising like a lot of people do, or thousands or whatever. We just kind of have put this thing out there and let it grow on its own, for the simple fact that we both want people to understand that if you're in the middle of a severe addiction, like all three of us went through, where if we had just quit at that moment in time, we probably would have died, or wished we would have, right?
Yeah.
So we needed some help on some level from someone to help us through that. He had Nikki. I had a good friend who put me up. I basically started my life wanting to be a musician, play professionally. Chris and I both did that for a good length of time. And when that ended, it was I was never married, didn't have any kids, so it ended abruptly. And that was like a shock to my system. And I had been addicted to painkillers through a doctor, mismanaging my prescriptions. And after that was over, and a relationship that I had ended, mostly due to me being a fucking asshole at that moment in time, didn't want to listen to anybody else's opinion. And after that, I found methamphetamine and heroin and alcohol and whatever else I could numb my pain with. There was just nothing left at that moment in time. So I would have preferred to have died than continue living the way I was.
I know the feeling.
Luckily, I woke up one day and I was pretty much emaciated. I weighed like 118 pounds, and I looked in the mirror that morning, and for whatever reason, I wanted to live. And from that point forward, I've never touched any of those drugs again, and learned to control alcohol to the point where I can enjoy it. And the rest is history. I mean, I had one night where...
you didn't go to a treatment center or a rehab or anything like that?
It would have never worked for me, man.
Yeah,
I wasn't wired that way. I knew what I was doing was wrong all along, right? But then I became an addict, and my body depended on it, and psychologically I depended on it to numb whatever I was trying to keep out, demon-wise or whatever you want to call it. But unfortunately or fortunately, I knew what was going on all along. It wasn't like I was so out of my mind that I don't remember it all. That's the horror of it, is I remember most of it. A lot of people say I don't remember that time in my life, or I was blacked out most of the time, or, whatever. I can't say that. I was there, conscious all along.
Yeah. See, I remember some of my stuff, but not. But there's spots that I don't remember, because the kids will bring something up. I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Well,
what are you talking about?
We all have those moments.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
I actually lost an entire day with another human being. That's a story unto itself. But you know, to do it by yourself and say, hey, man, a whole day disappeared and I don't know where it went, but I experienced that with another human being. That's freaky. And that person will not talk about it to this day. I will, because it just amazes me. But oh, yeah.
Wow.
So you both lost the day, or that person remembered and you didn't?
No, we both lost that entire day because we were supposed to have been somewhere, and the person who was questioning why we weren't there, we're like, hey, man, it's Wednesday. And they were like, it's Thursday, and you were supposed to have been there on Wednesday. And
Wow. You never told me that story.
I just remembered it. Okay. As we're going through this. Talk about things that you don't remember all the time.
All right, we'll save that for another day. That's awesome.
But I'll tell you one moment in time where my life could have taken the same trajectory as yours as far as being in trouble with the law was I got pulled over by 2 different law enforcement agencies at the same time, and I had been up for like 4 days and had all kinds of drugs in the vehicle I was in, and for whatever reason they never searched the vehicle. They couldn't tell apparently that I had been up for 4 days, and all 3 of these officers in their infinite wisdom told me to have a nice night. But when I got pulled over, Mike, I was ready to go to prison. That's where I was at. I was like, that's it, I'm done, you know?
Yeah. Wow.
And that wasn't enough to stop me. So that's where I was at. I was at rock fucking bottom. You know, lost a good relationship with my family. You know, I had pretty much severed ties with anyone who cared about me, except maybe 1 or 2 people.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the end game for most people in addiction, right? Getting to that point, you know, that rock bottom.
It's almost like you want to, on some level.
Yeah.
You know, because people who tell you that you're doing wrong at that moment in time are annoying, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, see the irony. I mean, Nikki was a bartender, so when she could tell a complete stranger or a regular, "Hey, you got to stop. I'm cutting you off." Yet she kept trying to tell me, and I wasn't hearing it because I just wasn't hearing it. Because to me, I was fine. I was in control. You know,
you were happy with the way you were living your life.
Right. Yeah.
So that's kind of where him and I were at. There's no filter on this show. So you go as far as you want, and you know, just like I said, the hope for us is that people know that there's, you know, life on the other side.
Yeah.
That you can be happy not being an addict.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's I think awesome to have stories like ours of people who've gone through it and today are living good lives, right? So, but I guess for me, like, it's probably maybe helpful I'm going to talk a little bit about my childhood and like, because that kind of might help you understand why I became an addict, really, like why I'm the way I was and why I was the way I was. And so I was born in 1970 and just outside of San Francisco. My parents were hippies, so we were right in the middle of the hippie movement, right? And going full swing, and they were right in the middle of it. So they had moved out there to get involved in that from Illinois, actually, which was where my mom was born. So so I was born there, and my earliest memories are like the hippie festivals, big gatherings, music festivals. I probably smoked my first joint at about 6 years old because there'd be like big circles of people just passing joints around, and to them, like, including the kids, was okay. They didn't, that was cool at that time. So me and my sister, who's 1 year older, we partook. So and I remember those times pretty well. Little snapshots now, but of those things. So, but my takeaway from that was that drugs were good, right? If you weren't using, you were missing out. You were a square. You're stupid. So,
sure.
But so that lasted for a while. But and my parents did a lot of LSD.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know it at the time, but yeah, later I learned that that's what they were doing too. And
which was
then
all
I had
part of that hippie movement.
It was, yeah, definitely. Tune in, drop out, and
you still in contact with your parents?
So my dad's been dead for a while. My mom lives in Israel. She moved there quite a long time ago with a third husband at that point.
Gotcha.
Started a new life there, but that was kind of the way she was. She would meet men and they would basically kind of control her. Like my stepdad was kind of a sociopath, abusive, and there was a lot of things that went on there. But what happened was when my mom went to Israel, my sister and I went and lived with our grandparents. So we had gone to stay there for the summer, and then she decided to go to Israel and said we would come later. But we were at our grandparents in Minnesota. It was a nice home. They were really good people, and we just ended up staying there. So which was probably better for us. But so I went
So
from
you were
going
raised
to like
by your
this.
grandparents?
Yeah, like I was going from going to this totally hippie freewheeling lifestyle to going to a conservative Christian home in the Midwest.
Oh, damn.
Wow. Oh my God.
So,
Literally.
Yeah.
yeah, so I was a fish out of water there. I did not
At
feel
what
like I
age,
fit in.
Mike?
That was about 10 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and I liked it. But once I got to high school, and people were smoking pot and things like that, I was like, yeah, this is me. I know how to do this.
Right.
I can roll joints. And I know how to smoke this stuff. So
Rolling joints when you were 6. Hey, Pop. Imagine Anthony getting stoned. Hey, Pop, I rolled a joint for you. What?
That puts it in perspective, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, totally.
yeah,
Totally.
So I was attracted to people who were smoking weed, musicians. Most of my friends in high school were musicians. We would smoke weed, drink, go to local music shows. Minneapolis had a pretty lively music scene. One of my friends was in a band. We'd go to big shows too at the the stadium or whatever whatever it was at that time, but rock shows. So like heavy metal music, fast cars, alcohol and weed. That was kind of high school for me, even though I wasn't playing sports. I did some cross country, but that was it. Weekends were partying, and that was what we did for most of high school. So but I still I managed good grades. I went to a private school actually, and I was kind of a bad boy at this private school, which really wasn't that bad because it was a private school. But so that was my start. But so the idea that like substances are good, like substances were the solution, not the problem to me. So, and then I go to college. I had drank, typical kind of college experiences, keg parties, stuff like that. I didn't really get into hard drugs at that time. But once I finished college, I found myself not really knowing what to do with myself. I had a cultural studies degree, and I'm like, what the hell am I going to do now? And
what do you do with a cultural studies degree?
You pretty much you go to graduate school and go into if you want to like be write papers and be an academic. Which I kind of thought about, but I wasn't really there. But what happened at that time is I was introduced to crack by a girl I picked up on the street too. That was another habit I developed too. Was ladies of the night kind of thing. So you want to call them, but so that and I didn't really know what crack was. I had spent some time out of the country. I wasn't really paying attention to the news. Like crack was kind of new in the early '90s, but I didn't know the dangers of crack really. I was like, but she was like, you want to try this? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to try that. And
did you smoke it?
I smoked it, and I knew right away I liked it.
Everybody
but
does.
What happened then was I smoked it probably a couple more times that summer, but then I ended up going to Asia to teach English, and I went to South Korea. So
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
That was an adventure. There wasn't crack there, but there was a lot of alcohol.
Sure.
So, that was like 6 months of a lot of drinking. Was my English teaching career there. I was probably the worst English teacher Korea's ever seen. But so and then I went to Bangkok and just kept the party going for like another 3 months. Did heroin over there for the first time. Pretty much just drank every day and partied. And till I really was, and I did a little work there, but eventually I was just broke. So my sister was living in D.C. at the time. Her husband had gone to law school, and he was going to work for a law firm there. So she said, "Yeah, you should come to D.C. We got well, there's a lot of jobs here. You know, you can find something to do here." So I said, "Cool." And she bought me a ticket, and so I got to D.C. It wasn't long before I discovered crack there. Crack was really big in D.C. at that time.
It was big in D.C.
Yeah, the mayor was.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Marion Barry. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I discovered crack there. I got a job at a law firm too, doing a clerk kind of job. And then I decided I want to go to journalism school, which is like I'd always liked writing. I'd done the school newspaper. It was always like writing I thought would be my thing. So I went into journalism. I went to graduate school for journalism. But crack was always in the background, like these crack binges, going out for a weekend, just disappearing for a couple of days in a crack house.
So just to get my timeline straight, this is between like 18 and what, like 25
At
maybe?
this time, I'm about 27.
Okay.
So it's after college.
Yeah, I'm in DC. I'm going, yeah.
Okay.
So, so going to graduate school, working full time, and nursing a little crack habit on the side too, which it takes a lot of energy.
It does.
That's a lot of juggling.
That's multitasking, man. You can never be complained of having ADHD.
Right. And my ego was so big at that time. I was like, I can go to graduate school, work full time, and I'm gonna hit this crack pipe on the weekend too, and I'm still getting good grades. You know, like that's how big my ego was, you know. And
it probably helped that you were intelligent, and you could, and from an academic standpoint, analytical standpoint, you could still hang with all that stuff. Yeah. Because if you don't have that part, there's no way that you're maintaining what you're doing.
Yeah, it was, and journalism came pretty naturally to me too. I was pretty good at it.
Yep.
I had the writing skills and the analytical skills, ability to like look at information, analyze it, and summarize it, stuff like that. So
we have that in common. I went to school to be a journalist. I wanted to be a writer when I grew up.
Yeah.
Right. So and that's how it ended up going into music and acting and stuff, because it all was encompassing.
Yeah.
And that's how Mike and I met. We were at a concert, and the short version of the long story, I kept singing along with Candlebox Singer, and he kept turning around looking at me like, "Shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up." And then the sound on the stage went out, and he turned back around, and I thought, oh, this guy's fucking just going to piss me off. He's like, "Are you a singer?" I was like, "Yeah." Whips out a business card. "I'm in a band." And here you go. I don't know how many fucking years later. It was that simple.
35.
Yeah, it was that simple.
28.
So,
I don't know.
Yeah, I wanted to
I've
be
known
musician
Chris a
too
long
when I
time.
was younger too, and but I realized like looking at my friends and how good they were. At some point I realized that I didn't just have that talent to get that good. So, but yeah, I think I liked it because like I saw them getting the girls really was part of it too. But you know,
everybody joins a band to get the chicks, right? But then after your initial band of that, you realize, well, that's just fucking stupid, because then they're distracting you from what you want to really do, which is the music, and then it just kind of evolves to where you're hyper focused on that, you know, and then the chicks are just a byproduct. We never really had a lot of. I was married the entire time I was in the band, so there was nothing that I ever fucked around with.
I was the only single guy in the band, Mike.
Yeah. Everybody else was married in our band. So Mike was only the one that really could have fun on that level.
Right.
Yeah. Good job, Mike.
Yeah.
So anyway, go ahead.
Well,
Go ahead. Continue.
So that goes on. I'm in journalism school. I almost flunk out because I'd gotten a job at a K Street law firm, which, you know, if you ever read Judd and Grissom, that's like the big time law firms. So I got this job there, and of course I'm wearing a suit and going to this, I'm getting a decent salary, and again, like big ego, like, yeah, I've arrived, you know, I'm somebody, but I only lasted like a month there because I started just smoking crack, and Sunday came to Monday, and I'm still out there and not going to work. So, they cut me loose, and I went to treatment for the first time because I realized, shit's getting real here. Things are, this is going to be a problem. I just lost a job. I'm about to flunk out of school. I don't want that to happen. So,
and that was about 27, 28?
That was about 1999. I went to my first treatment.
Okay.
So, yeah, I remember because The Matrix came out that year, and I was like, I remember like going to. I had gone to an IOP, and then I'd like gone to watch The Matrix like before a group or something like that. but it kind of reminded me of, that whole blue pill, red pill thing too. Like I was like, yeah, this is a kind of a recovery movie,
Absolutely.
But so yeah, I go to treatment. I start. I went to this place called the Cairn Foundation in Pennsylvania. It's a nice rehab. I guess Aerosmith went there at one point. So, but I only got to stay about a week because insurance denied me after that. So I went home. I'm taking the train back to DC, and before I even got into the station, I'm talking to the drug dealer, getting my connects, getting set up to get some more crack. So that didn't last, too long with sobriety, but I knew that wasn't the way I wanted to go, right? So I'm like, okay, I got to do something else. I went to a IOP program, like an outpatient where you go to groups in the evening. It was it's called Executive Addiction Program, I think. It was like working people who wanted to go to groups in the evening. But I bounced back pretty quickly. I got a job actually at a local newspaper. I got back into school. The professor at the time, I think, was also in recovery because he was very understanding.
Oh, right on.
Of what happened, and he encouraged me, and so I got back in the program, got back into that. I got a job at a local newspaper, started doing, I don't know if it was copy editing or reporting. I might have done copy editing first. I don't exactly remember. But anyway, so the local newspaper.
Yeah.
Doing local news in Arlington, Virginia. And so I'm like, yeah, I bounced back pretty quickly. Continued to do that. Started going to 12-step meetings and stayed clean for about 30 days. Then went out again. That was my pattern. That became my pattern, like this binge and abstain. I would stay clean for a month, 2, 3, 4 sometimes. Then I'd go out on a binge. So
I can relate.
Yeah, and that went on for several years. In the meantime, I meet a nice girl at the newspaper. We start seeing each other, move in together. I'm like, yeah, I'm in recovery, like it's great, and then pretty soon, bam, I'm out on a binge, don't answer her calls. You know, she's freaking out. And then that becomes the pattern too. Like, and she hangs in there with me, but I don't know why really, but
it's amazing the women that stick around addicts, right?
Yeah.
It's that bad boy thing inside. Oh, what's around the corner? You don't know how he's going to be the next day or when he wakes up, or I think there's a lot of truth, like the shock and awe,
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's not only that, but let's give them some credit. They see the real you. If you were sober all the time, they do see the real you because you give them flashes of that every now and then. Is what Chris is kind of describing.
Yeah.
You got to give the woman some credit because we're not bad people. We turned out to be good people. So I think they saw that, but you can only put up with so much of that for so long before, to Mike's point, this went on for years in our cases, and Chris is familiar with it too through family issues and stuff, but some people, it takes a long time. Chris was lucky. He figured out what he wanted to do, and he made the right decision, and now he has a great family, and his life has been good from the moment he made that decision. That didn't happen for Mike or myself. We just kept making the same wrong decision over and over again after short spurts of success, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, and then the fallout from that, like the depression after a binge would be so bad, and I'd be so, I guess, with just begging for forgiveness and like being, yeah, I'm so sorry, I'm not going to do, I'd feel so terrible, feel so low, that I would come crawling back, and that she would take me back, and then the process would start again, like it was a cycle. So, and she would call into work for me sometimes if I missed work or, things like that. And, but I put myself in dangerous situations. I was going into some of the worst ghettos in DC, and going to crack houses with $500 in my pocket, which.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. I'd be king of the crack house until the money ran out,
Right?
Yeah. So, and they saw me coming too, they knew I was, that was easy, what do they call me? Sweet and easy. I was sweet. And easy. I was sweet because I had money and I was easily give it up. So, yeah. And so, and and I was a pretty clean cut guy at that time, like no tattoos and probably wearing like khakis or something, like just maybe sometimes
like an old Navy commercial.
Yeah. I'd come right from work sometimes wearing my khakis and a button down. And,
right.
like,
Yeah.
Stick out like a nun at a Slayer concert.
It's amazing I survived those years when I look back that like no one ever jumped me in
man.
DC. I never even got robbed in DC, but once in Alexandria. But like, yeah. So anyway, to kind of speed it up a little bit because there's so many details there. But like, so she decides she wants to go to graduate school at Northwestern in Chicago. So to the journalism school there, which is one of the best in the country. So. Her parents were pretty well off and they pay for it. So we moved out there for her to do that. So we're at Evanston and I found crack right away there. And that was pretty easy to do there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So,
Chicago's famous for its crack.
Yeah. So there I was like going to meetings, putting on that show. And I felt like I was sincere really, but looking back, I feel like, I was kind of putting on a show like I'm in recovery, but at the same time, I'm going to go out and have a crack binge when I want to as well. There was some lack of something was missing there for me. I wanted to have
you wanted the normal life.
I wanted to have both worlds.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Cake and eat it too. Yeah.
Right.
So, and I thought I could manage that, but again, I got a reporting job there. I was doing okay. She was going to school. She went to London to do an internship. And when she was gone, I fell apart. I even went over to visit her in London and I smoked crack when I was there. And
so was London crack better than American crack?
No, I wasn't that kid over there. No.
I'm glad he asked because I was going to.
Yeah, but it was shameful, really. Some of the things I did, looking back, not my proudest.
I don't think no addict has prideful moments. We think we justify it in our mind in the moment, right? And then you look back on it years later, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I think that's just part of the sickness of that is
Absolutely.
You're always chasing something, and as you chase it, you don't care who you step on and go around and destroy to get what you want to get.
Yeah,
all
and
three of us have that in common sitting right here, man. We all have some not so proud moments, but the thing is we don't, you can't dwell on it anymore.
No.
The past is the past, and we became better people, so.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thrill of the chase, the thrill of going into the ghetto, finding where the crack is, and coming out alive, to me, I think that was part of it too, that thrill.
Sure.
So,
being part of that underground that nobody ever sees, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I survived something that nobody really even knows about, or they think they do, and they've never seen it, but we've been there, right? And we survived.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that.
That goes on for a while. She finished school. We go back to DC. I actually did pretty well when we went back, with the staying clean. I got in a group of guys in AA, and I was doing better. Got a pretty good job at an association. She got a job at a daily newspaper. We were doing pretty well, but still, every 5-6 months, maybe out. It's crack time, So that always it's always like the 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, So, but I maintained for a couple of years. We moved into a house in Alexandria. We had a very nice house. We had new cars. We had vacation, all that, everything, you think you want in life. We got married. But there was something missing for me. I don't know if it was there was something I felt that I was getting from that experience that I had to get, but I gave up all that to go into the ghetto and smoke crack, and that's what happened. So, in 2005, I lost my job when I went to a conference and I went out on binge. I was supposed to speak at this conference actually, and I went out on binge, didn't show up, come back, I'm canned. And that was the beginning of the end for everything there. I went to treatment, came back, got high again, treatment again. And then I just never went home after that, and which was probably the best thing for her. But so within a year, I went from being employed, living in a house, having a wife, to basically being homeless, unemployed, with nothing. And that was 2006. So
Wow.
and you'd think that would be enough, right? I mean,
Right.
that'd
You
be
would
enough?
think, yeah.
Isn't that
No.
probably a
Nope.
rock bottom for you? Think that'd be enough?
Yeah.
But so what happened was, I'm like, I'm going to go to truck driving school. So that's the solution. I'll be in a truck driving, so I won't smoke crack.
Because that'll have no idle time at all. you
Yeah.
know.
No. So, but I couldn't even do that because it was Thursday night. I smoked crack, leave on Friday, get to the place on Sunday morning. They want a UA. So, and it takes a while because they have to do a DOT certified lab report or something. So it took like 4 or 5 days. So I was in truck driving school for like 4 or 5 days in Hammond, Indiana, and CR England, who will never hire me again. Never talk to me again. But so there I'm in Hammond, Indiana, ass out. I call my former mother-in-law, who for some reason is still willing to help me out, and she sends me some money. So
Because she saw the good in you, man.
well, yeah,
That's what Mike talked about. The other Mike. It's everybody. The addicts. They all see the good in us. We all know. They all know our souls are there. It's just trying to get that demon out.
Yeah. So she sent me money, and so a guy who had sponsored me back in D.C., or I don't know if he's a friend or one of those AA guys, but he had said, I got a friend in Phoenix who he went to a sober living there, and he's been sober for 9 years. Maybe you should just check Phoenix out. I was like, okay, never been to Phoenix. Why not? So I get on a bus, stop in Chicago, got about a 5-hour layover, and I'm like, I can go down to North Avenue, get some crack, and get back.
I knew that's where it was going.
Now we're all familiar with where he's at.
I'm running up to the bus just as the guy's shut the door, sweating, like get on the bus, no money left. This is just a wreck, And that's how I made my trip to Phoenix. I slept most of the way, just a mess. And so I show up in Phoenix, and the place I'm going to is TLC, which, as you heard of it, is pretty entry-level halfway house. So, I mean, people come in right off the street. You don't have to have money. They'll take you in. They'll put you in a little detox room and
That's
for
awesome.
a couple days. And, yeah, you come in right off the street. They'll help. If you can't get a job, they'll put you on a
That's
work
the way it
crew.
should be.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but that was at 22nd Avenue and 22nd Street in Roosevelt, right in Central Phoenix. So that was my introduction to Phoenix. Coming into the Greyhound station over there.
Yep.
And then getting a couple of guys picked me up in a van that looked like a they're gonna abduct me.
Right.
Window white van with no
White van, no windows. Right.
I'm sitting on a spare tire in the back.
Right.
This doesn't look good.
Blood stains on the floorboard.
Yeah, I didn't know if I was being kidnapped or taken to rehab, but so that was the beginning of my Phoenix journey. That was late 2006, October 1st, 2006. Actually, I remember that date. But so again, back to the old pattern. I get a job at a phone room selling Craftmatic adjustable beds in Texas.
Woohoo!
Yeah, so that was my first job. But the pattern just continues, right? Like, I'll stay clean for 30 days. Van Buren's right down the street.
Yes, it
Now
was.
you're in the drug capital of the world.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah. And then, so it's, more of that. Halfway houses, jobs. I did have a relationship for a while. I stayed clean for a while. Kept this girl on the line. Then I discovered meth. So, Super Bowl Sunday, 2008, I did my first shot of meth. And
You did your first shot probably about the last time I did my last one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Chris keeps asking me when I got sober. It was somewhere in 2008.
Yeah, he doesn't remember. He doesn't remember I remember.
I don't
mine,
remember the exact date,
Right.
but I would guarantee you that you did your first the same year I did my last.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was.
So that's how long I've been away from it. It's all,
Yeah. But
well, I never. The one thing that you had experiences with that I never did is I never tried crack. I was offered it a million times, and I had a really weird experience where when I first moved to Phoenix in 1993, this crazy fucking skinny, like probably weighed 70 pounds soaking wet. I had my door open and she came up screaming, "You got any product? Do you got any product?" And she was just nuts. I'm like, I don't even know what product is, you know? And I couldn't get rid of her. Well, come to find out she was a crack whore. So I didn't want any part of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Luckily, I had a bad experience with, meeting somebody who was crazy from the get-go. Yeah. Like, no, I never want to look like that. But
crack
then I
was a
found
very
meth.
fast and dirty lifestyle. It's all about getting that money, getting that crack, and it goes so fast too. And then you got to get more. So, everyone's moving fast, doing, unless you.
So for those of us that have never done crack, okay, because I get that. Everything I've ever watched and seen and heard stories about it, it's you're chasing it. You're constantly chasing it. So when you first smoke it or snort it, it's an instant high.
Yeah, it takes just a couple of seconds to hit you,
And it lasts how long?
Depends on the quality of it. Anywhere from 2 minutes to 10 minutes. Like if you got some good, relatively pure stuff, you can take a hit and be good for a few minutes. And there's times like if you've been smoking for a while, like you've been on a binge, you can take a hit and kick back for a while. But then you got, if it's cut a lot, then it's going to make you want to, it just doesn't hit you the right way. It makes you crave more. So, so it varies, but, So when I discovered meth though, and I injected meth, and that lasted like that first shot, probably 2 or 3 days. Like I was like, I don't need crack. I don't need, cause crack, you got to smoke every, you keep hitting the pipe. I could do a shot of meth. The euphoria is really awesome too. And, not to glorify it.
No, we're not glorifying boys and girls. We're not glorifying drugs at all. We're sharing the experience so you understand how you can
This is why
recover.
it's so addictive.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. This is not a.
That's
I'm
why
not
you
a role
don't
model
do it.
for your life.
No.
At that time, I wasn't for sure. But the euphoria was on par with crack. So I said, okay, I can do this, and I still went to work on Monday too, and did my job, and I thought I did it really well. This is helping me perform better. I'm alert.
Oh, yeah.
I'm on point. But it was a while again until I did that again. Because again, I had the girlfriend, I had the job, and I was wanting to stay clean. I really felt like I was, but like that was always, I always knew like the check was in the mail. Like I knew a binge was coming at some point. And sure enough, that's what happened. And by was the end of 2009, beginning 2010. I pretty much gave up. I ended that relationship. I had a friend who'd worked on boats in Alaska. He said, "Why don't you go up to Alaska? We call it Seahab. You can get on a boat for 3 months, no drugs, no alcohol.
Right.
It'll be good for you, right?" I was like, "Yeah, cool, man. I want to see Alaska." So I went up there, got on a boat. Sure enough, it was what he said. It was a good experience. However, when you get back to port, it's party time.
Right, because you got the money, right?
You got money in your pocket.
Right.
People on the boat with you, they're going out.
Exactly.
What were you fishing for?
So it was salmon. I was on a processor, so we were actually processing the salmon, not catching it. But I wasn't like deadliest catch, even though I'd like to say that was, but I'm not going to lie about it. But I was in a processor. It was a more humble job, but it was a lot of work though. You work 12-hour days, 16-hour days sometimes. So it was work. Yeah. So and so that was 2010. That was my first season. I met some people on the boat. Went and stayed with them in Oregon. More beer, more crack. Not crack, meth. Meth was big in Oregon there. Did another season. Did crab season that winter. Came back, met someone who was a woman who was shooting meth, and she lived in Oregon. I came back up and did salmon season the next for summer, and then I hooked up with her, and I brought her back down to Phoenix with me, and that when I just started going full on. I was a full-time drug addict at that point. So, and we were shooting dope, doing what we had to do to get money. I had little jobs. but eventually it became just hustling. I got, when you hang around with people doing meth, a lot of them are doing shoplifting, fraud, all that kind of stuff. So I got into that criminal activity probably like 2012. Became homeless for the first time, where I was actually living on the streets.
So how old were you?
I was 42 at that time.
So if you're just joining this episode, it starts when he's 6 because he gets passed a joint in the hippie world of San Francisco, which back then I'm sure the pot was nowhere compared to what the pot is now. It was, the shake weed, the little, whatever. I know a little bit about the normal weed because my brother was a dealer when I was in high school, so he had it all over the place. So you have that when you're 6. That's your first introduction to substances, and now you're 42?
42.
So it took you that long, like an entire lifespan of going in and out of these binges, which is, to me, is amazing because, like you said, you'd go 30, 40 days maybe and clean and everything's like dialed in, and then I need that itch. I got that itch. I got that urge. I got to go on a crack binge for the weekend, and then you go back into your cycle of 30, 60, That's a long time to dabble up and down and to survive with everything you were experimenting with, especially all over the world where you're going, because just in this conversation, we've been to London. Yeah. We've been in Illinois. We've been in D.C. The D.C., I remember, everybody remembers the D.C. in the 80s, right? Like you said, Marion Barry was sitting there doing crack and shit. So it's mind-boggling to me that you had this entire lifetime of habitual use, but you always seem to find those pockets where you could stay clean. And then here you are finally at 42 years old, you hit rock bottom, you're homeless, now you're straight up addicted to meth. Yeah,
so at that point, I had decided that I was not going to do treatment anymore. I was not going to do meetings. I was going to ride it till the wheels fell off. If I died, that was okay. But I knew I had decided recovery wasn't for me. It didn't work for me. I was a full-time drug addict. So, and that's what I tell people. So I'm a full-time drug addict. And that's what I do.
So you had conviction, man.
I was committed at that point. Yeah. But I became a douchebag. Honestly, I was stealing, committing fraud. I learned how to make my own checks. I was doing probably a misdemeanor or a felony almost every day, and that's how I got by. I would start out in the morning, do some shoplifting, maybe cash a check. By evening, I'd hope to have some money to buy drugs and maybe get a hotel room. Drugs came first. So. And that's kind of how I survived on the streets. I was in hotels a good deal of the time. I really didn't sleep on benches or out in the streets much because I'd find some place to go. But there was nights when I'd be walking the streets all night. Yeah, for sure. So,
crazy.
Yeah. And so, and that's how it went. And I pretty much figured I was going to, there's more details I'll leave out, but, went up to Oregon again, came back. She'd gone back up, came back with her again for some demented reason that I'll never understand. But
you were in the depths of a powerful addiction at this point.
Right. So my decision making wasn't
right. So I was going to say. So understanding was just, it wasn't even a topic of conversation. That's nothing that
It wasn't rational. There was no rational decisions anymore. Yeah.
That addiction almost cost me my sanity. So whatever things you did, I completely understand because you're not yourself at that point. I honestly almost lost my mind. So I know where you're coming from.
Yeah. And that, and that binge and abstain too, like when you're doing that and you're in the abstain part and you're looking back at the binge going, what's wrong with me? And
think about your life right now, Mike. And think about how many days we stayed up in a row.
Yeah.
And after about 4 days, how many rational decisions could you make right now if somebody forced you to stay up for 4 days?
The paranoia and the psychosis, and I would get psychosis so bad. I've been to psych wards. I've been to 4-point restraints, thrashing around because someone's coming to kill me. I've been in every kind of institution you can think of, the full gamut. So I didn't leave anything out. I did the full tour.
If you're gonna do something, you got to do it.
I survived all those moments alone, man. I would isolate myself from anyone and just sit in a fucking corner, with my head in my knees.
Mm-hmm. No, I've been in a rubber room talking to the camera in the corner, just babbling away, stuff like that. So, and with the meth psychosis, because especially if you abstain for a while and then you do get them out, you're going to be out there, and that's what happened, especially on those boat trips when I come back to Seattle and do some meth. And I'd always do way too much. Yeah, I'm going to snort some, I'm going to smoke some, I'm going to shoot some, because that's the kind of guy I am, and I can handle it.
How long did that last after you quit?
What do you mean? The psychosis?
Yeah.
Or really not long, but like the kind of like going into that paranoia and the irrational thinking and things like that. Like, so.
Yes.
So finally, what happened was in March 4th,
because for me it was like 6 months. I thought I was going to have to live the rest of my life that way.
With that,
and that's why I ask.
Yeah, no, the post-acute withdrawal or those symptoms do last a long time, and I think so. I went to jail on March 4th, 2014, and that's when it all ended.
My birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
That's kind of my birthday.
That's
too,
crazy.
in a way. Like that's an important date for me.
Yeah.
And it took me, I was locked up for a couple of years before I decided to turn my life around. Those first 2 years, I was just laying around thinking about getting high when I got out, or especially that first year. But so I read a lot of books. I laid around. And then something happened that in 2016, I got on the yard and there's some guys doing AA. They're doing AA, they're doing yoga. And so I tried the yoga and I was like, fuck it, I'll try AA again. I mean,
Sure.
I might as well. I know. So I go and I get in with this group of guys. We're doing our own meetings on the yard, and that became our routine. We do yoga, we do AA, we go to chow. And it was the same group of guys. Out of 1,000 guys on the yard, there's about 10 guys, and probably not even that many. So, and some of those guys, I still talk to this day, and they're still clean and sober.
Nice.
And that's pretty
awesome.
amazing. Yeah. So, but that's where the change really started. Probably like 2016 when I decided to give it another shot, and then I decided to start studying addiction counseling. So,
See, and that's what's cool about his story, which is why I wanted him to come on our show, because not only was from the age of 6 to 42 adamant in the drug world, he's completely turned his life around. Now he actually helps those that are struggling with it.
yeah,
Absolutely.
And I think that's the best thing that someone can do who's been to the addictions and has destroyed their lives and gone, and I know you just kind of breezed over this stuff because our time is limited.
Yeah. There was a lot of details and a lot of days there that, I remember some pretty bad stories,
Sure.
Some pretty low times, but, I think for me, like coming out the other side and being able, like you said, being able to do what I do now is to me like the best gift I could have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of
Yeah.
answers the question that you had for me earlier as to, why I didn't go to rehab. You can't put yourself in front of a person who's never been there
Yeah.
and expect, if somebody had taken me to you, that would have been a different story, because if our timelines were reversed, or if someone had brought you to me, you couldn't bullshit me because you started your addiction when I ended mine, right?
Mhm.
So I'm going to say, 2 years from that point, when you're in your right mind again, you can't bullshit somebody who's been there. Chris can spot an alcoholic a mile away, right?
Yeah.
He's been
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
We can spot drug addicts a mile away. They can't.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah,
don't
I'll see
think
him.
that.
I'll see him all the time. We go to a restaurant, and I'm like, yeah, that busboy's using meth. I can tell.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh, yeah. Because you see all the tics that people have.
Gotcha.
We had those same tics.
Yeah. 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 So
They just move a certain way. They do certain things.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I agree with Chris. It's awesome that you're able to help someone not only because of your education, but because of your life experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that was probably one of the best decisions I ever made, was when I decided to start studying addiction counseling, and it gave me a purpose. It gave me, and I have had setbacks and problems since it was a rough couple of years getting, starting from nothing. I came out of prison with a box of papers and books,
Sure.
one change of clothes, and about $300 on a debit card.
How long were you in prison?
3 years.
Okay.
Jail and prison.
In Arizona?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So all in Arizona. I did a lot of county time because I wouldn't sign my plea, but I did about 15 months in county, and then the rest in prison. But
Okay.
so it it was about the right amount of time to, I think it was about the right amount of time for me to really, because like I said, it wasn't until that last year that I really decided to turn things around. But there's been challenges. I just recently got my civil rights restored.
Nice.
It's been a long road back, to where I can own a firearm now if I want to.
Cool.
I've never owned one, but I may do that.
Yeah.
I can if I want to. It's good to be to have those rights back and to feel like all that's behind me now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how long has it been now since you've been clean?
So, well, that's a fair question, but so there have been some setbacks, and I've also had discovered I had a behavioral addiction too. So for me, when I was in the midst of it, it wasn't just drugs; it was gambling, sex, pornography. Right?
Okay.
Those were things I did probably on a daily basis. My nickname on the streets was Casino because every time I got some money, I'm off to the casino. So, yeah.
I was a high roller at a casino an hour north of me in Joliet. So Krista kind of gave me just a synopsis of where you'd been, and I'm like, our stories are very similar. It's almost eerie.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know his entire story. I still probably don't. We probably don't. But I knew enough of it that when I started talking to Mike about Mike, I'm like, okay, I see similarities from what I heard.
Yeah. It's almost eerie now.
Right?
We're more alike than we are different. That's why I tell clients all the time, so the solution for you is probably a lot like the solution for me. But yeah, so, when people ask me that question now, usually I'm just since I woke up this morning.
That's cool.
Because like I said, there have been other behaviors and things that I've had to address. And when I look at, how long I've been in recovery, I say since 2016.
Okay.
About March 2016, actually, when I decided to get back into recovery.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty much my answer to that. And I think, recovery looks a little different for different people.
It looks different for everybody.
Yeah. So and I still do some meetings. I still, I do a lot of self-care.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of addicts do because that's how I found working out. Again, that's how I found running. Running, by all means, if I wasn't able to run for the years that I run, there's no way.
Yeah,
because it's such a great way to shut your brain off and shut the voices off and put the demons at bay and just, you have a shit day, you fucking go, at least I do, I go run. Even if it's only 3 miles or 5 miles, it doesn't matter. It resets my body for some reason. And then
that's where I found my love for music again. The same thing.
Yeah. I'm a better human when I'm running every day and working out every day and sweating and just grinding that mindset of working out and shit. And just like with every addict, my tunnel vision came with diet. It's like I eat the same fucking thing every day except dinner, and it drives Nikki nuts. But I'm like, I'm the simplest person to shop for. Like, but it's that routine, right? It's that thing that we latch onto. You find something that works, you go with it because we're addicts. We have to. We got to find something to replace it.
Yeah, I'm very much that with my food too. Like a lot of the same similar meals I cook every week. I cook a lot of my own food.
Yeah, meal prep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, like the nutrition part's also really key for me.
Sure.
Getting the right nutrition, the right exercise is a big part of to me, eating the right food might be one of the most important things I do in a day.
Agree. Yeah. You are what you eat. Yeah. You feel better when you eat healthy.
Yeah.
When people eat that junk food and shit and they feel lethargic and blah, that's because you're eating fucking junk food.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We're running out of time. What, Mike?
Your body's on an insulin dump.
Right. Yeah. Anything else you want to share before we wrap this thing up? Because I know we're about 4 minutes from 12.
No, I mean, this is thanks you guys for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. And I
you're welcome here anytime, man. If you want to expand on your story, come back.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I'm so glad that Rodartes and Christina, my kind and beautiful wife, who's supportive in everything I do. I don't think I'd be where I am today if I hadn't met her, back in 2020 and choking up a little bit.
That's okay.
But that she's given me the support and stability that I never had. And also like family too, like Rick and Ann are like parents to me. And it's just been wonderful. So I really feel like I have everything a person could want in life now. You know, there's more goals I'm shooting for, but like recovery's been just great to me. Like there's no better life for me than recovery, you know, and I've seen the worst of what addiction can do to people and what it did to me. And being able to be here on this side of it is just, you know, I couldn't ask for anything more, really. So
yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for coming on, man.
All right,
that's awesome. Thanks for
being on here, man.
Mike.
Yeah, pleasure meeting you. Come back anytime. Happy for you, bro.
We got to plan it out, but yeah, you know.
Maybe we can just talk about music next time.
Yeah, we can. Absolutely. I know he's got all kinds of rock.
That's what I was representing today.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. He's got an Aerosmith tat on his arm.
Got the Aerosmith.
I'll talk. Dude,
Jim Morrison.
I'll talk music with you anytime you want.
Yeah, fucking A, dude. Next time it's all about music for sure. Because we can do that
Be
for
less
hours,
heavy
man.
next time.
Hours. All
right,
Come
back, man.
Thank you, everybody, coming in. Don't let the bad days win. If you need something, reach out. Everybody's here. Everybody's here for you.
Absolutely.
Somebody's going to miss you if you leave this planet. Somebody's going to miss you because you are loved.
All right.
All right. Peace. See you, brother.
Peace. Later.
Come on.